Alright, welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about how to figure out chords on the ukulele. And I'm going to use the major scale to do that. I'm going to show you a triad. That's a chord, that's a 3-note chord, a major chord. And then I'm going to show you how to convert a major chord into a minor chord. And we're going to use the major scale to do that. We're going to try and figure this out on the neck of a ukulele. So here we go. Oh, and by the way, if you'd like to support the work I'm doing, there's a link in the description for that. And also there's going to be a link with some blank ukulele fretboards so that you can print that out and try some of these things on your own. Okay, here we go. So we're going to start with the major scale. There's 12 notes in music altogether, and they're all in half steps. So, you know, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, and so on, okay? Okay, but the major scale, if you just take one of those notes, let's say you used a G. As a matter of fact, we'll use G because that's an open note on the ukulele. You start on G, which would be 1, and you follow this convention of whole step, half step, and then it's going to be 3 more whole steps, whole step, whole step, whole step, and then a half a step to start the scale over an octave higher. So this one right here is an octave higher than this one. So we know that there's a note in between here, and there's a note in between 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. See, there's a half step here, so there's no note in between. On the ukulele, each fret is a half step. So an open note, like an open string to the first fret, that's a half a step. And then every fret after that is a half step. Okay, so now that we know what the major scale is, I tell you what, I'm going to play a major scale, a G major scale, on the lowest string on one string. I'm going to demonstrate that right now. So this is, so if we just played all 12 notes, we just played every note. Okay, so that's 12 notes. I started these 2 notes. This was an octave higher. Okay, now if we're going to do a major scale, this is all half steps with the chromatic. That's called a chromatic scale when you play every note. But we're going to play a major scale. So the first interval is a whole step. So this is G, or we're going to call it 1. Instead of using do, re, mi, fa, so, do, re, mi, fa, we're going to use numbers 1 through 7. So here's 1, and then a whole step to 2, a whole step to 3, and a half step to 4. Okay, then 5, that's a whole step, and another whole step, half step. So I'm going to shift my whole hand to get 5 with my first finger and continue on. Okay, now just in context, let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Okay, so that is a G major scale. Okay, now let's look back at our diagram. This row right here, this is where we start talking about chords. What is a chord? Well, a chord is if you start on the first note of the major scale and you jump every other note. So you have 1, 3, 5. So there's 3 notes, right, that we're going to play. That's a triad. There's only 3 notes, that's why it's a triad. And so we'll worry about these others later in a future video. Okay, so let's go down here. And by the way, this is the scale we just played. And we're going to go down to, we're going to start with some basic chords. These are basic triad chords. And we're going to do some figuring. We're going to figure these out, a few of these on the neck of this ukulele. And okay, so this is the red ones. That's the root note, so that would be F. So that note is F. This is F right here. On these, like the root note is C. So that number 1, that's C. Okay. Now just to show you, if we like if you wanted to see what these notes are, see that's C, G, D sharp, and G. But I'm using intervals because the intervals I mean, it's good to know all the notes on the neck, so that you know where you're at. However, once you know where one is, then you can figure out pretty much any chord you want, because they're all based on a major scale, at least the way we name them. Okay, so let's start with this one here. Now, the major scale is not there, so let's create the major scale. Okay, so that's 7. Okay, let's just go back here and look real quick. So we have a half a step between 3 and 4 and 7 and 1. Everything else is a whole step. Okay, so it's a little confusing when you go to the next string, because this is where that's a 7 as well. Hang on, it's a different color. This is how you would tune it. So this note and this note on this string is the same as open on the other one. On this next one, okay, so on this note here, open, would be this note here, and this open note here would be this one. Okay. All right. So we've got some of our scale in here because we're 1 through 7, right? So 1, 2, 3. Okay, and there's a 3 here. 4, 5, 6, and we went backwards. 1, 7, 7. Okay, so let's put a 1 here. Okay, just so we can kind of see this, get a visual of it. Half step between 7 and 1. So between 7 and 6, that's a whole step. And then 6 and 5, that's a whole step. We're going backwards. 5, we need a 4. See, then there's a half step between 3 and 4. And then, okay. So now, this is an F scale. This is an F major scale. So now what we're going to do is, our triad is 1, 3, 5, correct? So we want to get rid of everything that's not a 1, 3, or 5. So we're going to get rid of this and this on this string. And then on this one, we're going to get rid of this and this 2. And on this string, we're going to get rid of, remember, we want to keep 1s, 3s, and 5s. Okay, we don't need a 7 and we don't need a 6. On this string, we're going to get rid of the 2 and the 4. So now all we're left with is 1s, 3s, and 5s. Okay, so this is the lower neck. These are open notes here, okay? So this pattern right here, you see that? That's an F chord. So this is how you play that. Okay, so here's the open 3, okay, 1, and this is open, and there's 3. So notice it has 2 3s in it. So this is an F chord. Okay, let's move up on the neck here. Now check this out. You could use this. This is an F right here. But you remember, this is an F scale, so we kept all the 1s, 3s, and 5s. So check this out. This is an F chord as well. Okay, so let's check out and see how to play that. So here's F. Okay, so we're going to call that 1, 1, 3, 5, and here's another 5. So that's an F chord as well. Now you could bar these 3 here if you can get enough arc on this finger so that you can still hear that note. I mean, that's a legitimate way to play that. But I'd probably play it like that. I'd finger it all. Okay? All right, so now we've done F. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we want to create a minor chord. So let's start with our major chord. And so the difference between a major chord and a minor chord is the third is we have to move that down a half a step, so it's flat 3. So our triad for a minor chord would be 1, flat 3, 5. So let's keep we have all the 1s, 3s, and 5s here. So now what we want to do is we want to take this 3 here and move it down a half step, down in pitch. I know it looks like I'm moving it up, but the pitch is moving down this way, okay? So now we have flat 3. Now we have to get rid of this one because it's not in the chord. So we're just going to get rid of that. Okay? But we have a 3 here. So let's move this one down here. Okay? So now let's look at this pattern. You could play this chord right here. See, I'm just kind of circling with my mouse. That is an F minor chord. So this is how you play that. So we have our flat 3 here, the open 5. Let's do it backwards. I'm going to start with the 5 here. It's on the 3rd fret, right? Okay, and then 2nd fret for the 1, open on the 5, and 1st fret for the flat 3. Okay, now this is going to be pretty easy to move between F major and F minor. So let's go back to F major. Okay, so that's how you create a minor chord. Now let's go up the neck. You see this pattern right here? We can use that same 5 in this form right here. These are just patterns of chords. And as long as you know where these numbers are in the context of the scale, then you can figure these out yourself. Okay, so that's an F minor. So this is how you play that. So we'll start here. Let's play F first. That's F major. Now we're going to take my pinky. We have to reposition everything. So this comes down. So we want to move this down to here. That's the flat 3. And then there's F. That's 1 and 5. Okay, so we go back. Okay. Let's move over to the next one. I'm gonna put this back to F, so that and I'm gonna get rid of these other notes on here, and I'll let you handle these. Okay, so then we've got F minor here. All right, so now let's move on to C. This number 1 here, that's C. Now if we just made that, these are hollow because these are open strings. So this is C and this is C, but since it's a C chord, we're calling this 1. Okay, I tell you what, we'll make one more scale with the C, okay? So let's start with 1, let's go backwards. There's a half step between 7, or 1 and 7, right? Okay, now it's gonna be a whole step. Okay, so that's 6, right? Now we want a 5, and that's going to be, okay, well this is, the 6 is right here. That's open, okay? Because this note is the same as the open next string, so let's go backwards, 5. And then we have another whole step. So you see we have a half step between 3 and 4, and whole step, whole step. A good way to do this is just to put on the 5th fret, you know, just put your marker there. Okay. And then, whoops, well, okay, you see this 1 is 1 here, and 3, 3. So let's put a 4 in there. So 3 and 2, 1, 1, 7, 6, and 5. Let's put a 2 here. Okay, so this is a C major scale. So if you wanted to play this as a scale, you could surely do that. Let's say you wanted to play a scale. Well, we'll start it with that 1, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so you're gonna start with your pinky or your 3rd finger. Okay, so we're not gonna play the open string on the next. We're just gonna play. We have to finger it because that's 1 as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 5 is going to be here. 5, 6, 7. Oh, yeah, 7, 1. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Okay, and you can play the open notes as well. So we'll start with the open string. Okay. So we've got the scale. Now let's just get rid of everything that's not a 1, 3, or 5. Okay, so we're going to get rid of this 2, 7, and 6. Get rid of that. We don't need a 6 here. We want to keep the 5, keep the 3, get rid of this, get rid of that. We got a 1 and a 3, want to keep that. Want to keep that 1, get rid of the 7, get rid of the 6. Now all we have here is ones, 3s, and 5s. You see this pattern right here? That's a C chord. But this pattern like here, if you play these 3 along with this one, that's another C chord, okay? Now if you added this note here, that'd be if you just play it open, that's C6. That's like, just if you play all the strings open, that's a C6 chord, okay? So let's try this pattern first, okay? It's going to be one finger on the 3rd fret on this, and then you just play it. All the rest of the strings are open. Okay, now let's take a look at the next one. So we have 1, 3, 5, 1. Now, by the way, the way that I'm, when I say 1, 3, 5, 1, if somebody asked you, well, how are you voicing that chord? Well, I would say 1, 3, 5, 1. Well, what about this voicing here using this group of notes? What's the voicing of that? Well, that's 5, 1, 3, 1. Okay, how about the voicing of this F chord? Well, it would be 3, 5, 1, 3. You notice I'm always starting with this G string and moving up. And so you just go across the strings and you tell, what each interval is. Okay, so the voicing of this C minor chord would be 5, flat 3, 5, 1. Okay, so let's go back to this chord here, 1, 3, 5, 1. Let's play that. And so C is on the 5th fret. Okay, but we're going to bar these 2. So that's 1, 5, 3, 1. Okay, let's make a minor chord out of that. So we have this 3 right here. Let's move that down here. This 3 doesn't work anymore for C minor, so let's get rid of that. Okay, now here's the deal. We only have 1, 3. So we have to use that in any combination of C minor, okay? So we could get rid of this 1 and play this combination right here, this shape, or we could play this shape. Both of them are C minor. They both work. So let's try them both. The first one, open low string, and then we're going to just bar these 3. That's C minor. Now if we want to play the other form, we're just going to put our finger right here. So if you were going to, if you're just playing a groove, I mean, you can kind of create a little, a melodic groove with this, Okay, let's go back to C. So here's C major, C minor, and these are 2 C minors, okay? All right. I hope this is, hope you guys are catching on to this. Let's get back to our C chord here. We want our 3 back in there. Okay. And we already did C minor. So let's go down and let's do G. Okay, here's G. There's the open. Okay, now this is 3, 1, 5, open. Okay, so this is the 3 right here, right? So we want to move that down a half step. Okay? So this is G, G minor. Okay, let's move on to D. So we have D. This is D. This is the D note. That's number 1. That's 1. Okay. So the voicing of this chord is 5, 1, 3, 5. So we've got 2 5s in there. And then when we convert it to a minor, convert it to D minor, we're going to do that. And this is what we end up with right here. Okay. So let's play those D. So This is D right here. And I'm going to put my pinky there for the 3 and the 5. Okay, so that's, you can play like that. Or if you want a bar, and if you have, and you can arc the side of your finger up so it stays open. And then there's D minors, because we took the 3 and dropped it down a half step. So D, D minor, okay? Okay, just a couple more, and then I'm going to let you be on your own. Okay, let's try A. That note is A. I tell you what, if you want to take a screenshot of this right here, this is all the notes up to the 9th fret. So I'll just let that sit there for a second if you want to take a screenshot. And, okay, I'm going to move down. A. So that's the A. That's 1, 3, 5, 1. And then we have 1 flat 3, 5, 1, A minor. So we have A and A minor. So we have 2 open notes, and then the 3rd is there, and there's 1. Now take this finger off, because that's the 3rd. We're going to flat that. So we have A and A minor. Okay, you notice this next, over to the right, this is also A and A minor. Well, this is a different pattern. If we would have written out the scale, you know, we'd see these patterns in here if we got rid of all the 1s, or if we just kept the 1s, 3s, and 5s and got rid of everything else. Okay, so I'll just show you how to play those. So this is A. So this is A right here. That's 1. So this is 3. That's 1, 5, and there's another 1. Now the 3 is here, so we got to move that down to get A minor. So we just have to, and the way to practice these is to, if you're going to go from major to minor, just play that and then lift your fingers off, or these here, just these 3. You lift them off and practice just going back and forth between that, okay, between those 2 chords. All right, let's try B. Now, if you notice that, you see this pattern right here on B? It's exactly the same pattern. See, if you know the numbers, like you know that a 3 is always that far away from this 1, and the 5 from the 3 is this, like this, okay, 5 to 1. Well, it's the same pattern. It's just that this is a B note, so when you play this pattern, you end up with a B chord, all right? So this is what we end up with here. And then, of course, this is the 3rd, this finger, my middle finger, and I'm going to drop that down to the, you can see my finger moving, and hopefully it'll get B and B minor. And then over to the next B and B minor are the same as the A that we were playing. See, we played A and A minor. There's A. We're just going to move that whole thing up a whole step, and that's B and B minor. So you have this B, B minor, and then you have this B and B minor. Because I know you know where the 3 is, and you just keep everything else in the same place and flat the 3rd. All right. Let's see, we have another one, B flat. Okay, see, you can see this pattern. Same thing. It's exactly the same. You can see this. I'm going to play it for you, but then this will be it. Okay, so this B flat right here. So these 2, and then B minor, B flat minor. So this is B flat minor. Of course, you can do this pattern as well. Okay. All right, well, I hope you got something out of that. I'll let you work on the E. Well, let's do E. Okay, we'll do E as well. All right. So E, this is E. So the voicing 5, 1, 3, 5. And of course we take this 3, move it down here, and this is what we end up with for that. And then this is a little different pattern here. So let's do these 2, E. Okay, here we go. This is E, right? That's 1, 3, 5, and 5. So we have 2 5s. And by the way, if you have a high G, then it's going to be they'll be the same. Okay, now we're going to do E minor, because this is the 3 on my pinky. That's the 3. We want to move that down to here for E minor. Okay, now there's another E you can play. So we have these 3 notes here, right? But there's a 1 there. That's E. So you can play that as an E chord or this. Okay? Now the E minor here, so we play E minor, but this going from this major, E major, to this E minor is a stretch because you have to get that flat 3, and it's best to play it like that. See, I really have to bend my wrist to get that. I mean, it can be done. I probably never use this chord. Probably never. I mean, maybe, but I'm not. I'd probably, go for this. Okay. All right. Well, I hope you got something out of this. Remember, there's a link in the description if you want to support the work I'm doing, and there's also the blank sheet, or a sheet of blank fretboards for the uke, so you can try some of these on your own. So anyhow, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.